across to our reporter Nthakoane Ngatane, who is at the National Election Command Center in Maseru. Very good afternoon to you, Nthakoane. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, take us through the vote counting process. How is it going so far?
Good afternoon, Simpiwe. Very, very slowly indeed. But as we expected, this is a mountainous country and systems are not as advanced probably as you would compare to South Africa. So a lot of it happens manually. What happens is that at every polling station, they count manually and then they take it to a district, or rather a constituency. And then the constituencies pass them on to districts, and we have 10 districts in Lesotho. And then the district will then pass it on to the National Results Center, which is here where we are now. Now, up to now, we have received about 10 constituencies, and out of those 10, the opposition Basotho Convention has taken 3. The new kid on the block, the Movement for Economic Change, led by Sidibe Motshoborwane, who broke away from the Deputy Prime Minister's Lesotho Congress for Democracy, has retained his Tabana Morena constituency, but also the Democratic Congress showing with 1 seat so far. Now, what that means, Simpiwe, is that it's going to take a little bit of time for us to get other results. We know that 20 other constituencies, or rather those 10 is out of a total of 20 that have now completed their calculating and collating, and so therefore we expect those to come through here to the results center. But this is out of 80 constituencies, so that should tell you the amount of time it should take. But also I think it's worth noting that the ones that we've received so far come from outside of the capital Maseru, because clearly that's areas where the ballot or the voting stations will have fewer people and the constituencies will have fewer people. But what we now have as unconfirmed reports is that the leader of the Lesotho Congress for Democracy and Deputy Prime Minister Mothetjwa Metsing has also retained his constituency of Mahobong. We understand that the leader of the Basotho National Party, Tisele Masiribane, may have lost his Mount Morosi constituency, but also that perhaps Abia, which is what we expected, and that is the leader of the main opposition, Basotho Convention, Tom Tabane, has retained his constituency. But all of these up to now are not officiated or officially announced by the Independent Electoral Commission. Simpiwe?
Now, Nthakoane, were you able to establish from the election officials what the voter turnout was as compared to previous elections?
Well, Simpiwe, that's another thing I think that we have to now start establishing, but we won't know until all of the results have come through here. But from what we saw and what people are saying, the interest in these elections was not as much as what we saw in 2015. And in 2015, it was 46%. So the likelihood is that it has probably gone down from that number. But also, if you look at the interest from where we are at the results center, it is right in the middle of the capital Maseru. And so because this is a stronghold of the opposition Basotho Convention, we see a lot of them driving around Maseru celebrating, because some of the results they will know before they come through here, because the party agents will inform their main centers, and therefore they will know which constituencies they've won and which ones they've lost. Simpiwe?
Now, Nthakoane, you've been covering the events leading to the election for quite a while now, and quite extensively. So would you say the people of Lesotho want a change in leadership, or they simply want a stable and effective government?
I think you have both sides of the coin. There are people who want change, and they're mainly young people. They're mainly people who have been disadvantaged in the past, people who have not managed to get good livelihoods out of the governments that have come into Lesotho up to now. And particularly people who think that Lesotho, after 50 years of independence, and this is the message that Munyane Moleleki, who broke away from Prime Minister Pakadi Tamosisidi's Democratic Congress, together with the leader of the opposition, Tom Tabane, have been selling, the message that Basotho need to come together in a government of national unity. Now, if people think that they subscribe to that idea, that Lesotho should once and for all not have opposition, maybe they will have voted for the opposition and they will have voted for change as a result. So only these results that are coming through here very, very slowly will tell us whether in fact people wanted a change or not. Simpiwe?
Now, a coalition is the most likely outcome with previous coalitions having collapsed over power battles. Will this one survive? Will it be successful? Should it ever happen?
Well, Simpiwe, I can tell you that according to analysts and according to what you see on the ground, the result is likely to be neck and neck, but definitely a coalition. So it all depends on which side of the coalition it is, whether it is the current government with the Prime Minister, the Deputy Prime Minister and their allies in the current coalition government, or it is the opposition alliance with the Lesotho Convention, which was in government before, but also has been boosted by a breakaway of the Prime Minister's party, the Democratic Congress, and now is an ally of its former deputy or its former deputy leader, or the former deputy leader of the Prime Minister's party, the Democratic Congress, who is now leading the Alliance of Democrats. Now, what we, I think, expect is that there might be, as I said, a new kid on the block, the movement for economic change, which might be the decider if there is a hung result. So if the movement for economic change, as they've already got one seat in that National Assembly, if perhaps they get another one, they might actually swing if we find that the two coalitions come out equal. So at this point in time, it's too early to even tell who will win or who the people have chosen until all the results have come through here. Simpiwe?
Okay, Nthakoane, just a quick one. We haven't got much time, unfortunately. Now, sources say Tom Thabane's campaign was well funded. So in your past experiences, does that normally translate to votes?
I beg your pardon, Simpiwe?
Sources say that Tom Thabane's campaign was well funded. So in your experience, does that normally translate to votes?
Well, Simpiwe, I think if you look at which one was well funded, you'll probably have to look at the visibility. And if you talk about visibility, I think both the Lesotho Convention and the pact of the Democratic Congress and the Lesotho Congress for Democracy had a lot of visibility, especially here in the capital, Maseru, where you have billboards and you have radio advertising. So all these front runners had a good amount of visibility in the media and in the outdoor campaigning. But if you talk about whether or not the funding relates to how much votes you get, I think perhaps you can look at 2015 or even 2012. I think in 2012 we had the Democratic Congress, which won more seats than other parties, but was not able to form government because at that particular point in time, they did not have a good relationship with the other parties. So they were not able to get into a coalition government at that time. They were forced to take the opposition benches. So at the end of the day, I don't think it's about how much funding you get or even how many votes as a single party you get. At this point in time, Lesotho can only get a coalition government. And so I think it depends on who has a good relationship or is trusted by the other parties to lead a coalition at this point in time. Simpiwe?
All right, Nthakoane, thank you so much for your update. We'll certainly be in touch with you as vote counting gets underway. We really appreciate your time. That was Nthakoane Ngatane speaking to us live from the IEC in Maseru as vote counting is underway. All right.